As host of Diary of a CLO, I've had the privilege of interviewing a range of awesome and inspiring people. So for the final episode in our summer series, I'll be combining the knowledge of a range of leaders who offer fresh perspectives on the new world of work. I've selected clips covering workplace well-being, the opportunities artificial intelligence is bringing us, and challenging cultural paradigms. Give it a listen and share your thoughts about the direction our new world of work is heading in.
I think a lot of it is around meaning and purpose, around what is fulfillment in life. And, we've come off that sort of wagon again that we were on, but we still need to deliver. And what does that, and a lot of that is the confidence that we've lost. So a lot of what we're doing at the moment is around, self-help, motivation. A lot of organizations as well actually are asking me around the exercise piece, because I think now that people are working from home, it's allowing yourself time, and it's not around because we can get on our laptops at 7 o'clock in the morning and we can still be sitting here at 8 o'clock at night, and people are realizing that they're not sitting up, they're not getting up, they're not doing the exercise piece, and it's about that management piece around allowing yourself to get to go out for a walk at lunchtime, to get away from your desk, to go and do 40 minutes of a few exercises or whatever else. And how do they allow themselves, and how do they build that into their day-to-day?
I've been looking at a lot of kind of research recently around healthcare and how AI can, predict things faster than we can, and it can be beneficial for a lot of people. I don't think people should be necessarily scared of it. I think this is a natural reaction that people have, especially in certain careers and certain jobs. They think this is going to replace me, and I've said to a lot of people within Social Republic in particular, especially people who are creating content, people who are designers, they've actually been really positive in terms of they're thinking, oh, this can help me so much. Like, this isn't going to replace. There's no one that it will never be able to replace them as this person and the job they do, but it's actually going to help them and aid them and speed things up. So we're looking at always looking at the positives. I think the good thing is it creates a conversation as well. So there's always, you see on LinkedIn, for example, people who are copywriters, arguing that it might replace their jobs, and other people kind of disagreeing. And I think it's really important to have that conversation and to see the positives of it.
The constant is change, and everyone is hearing right now that they need to learn how to learn. And the question is, how can we empower, and how can we give the freedom, and how can we create a structure in our organization where people also learn how to learn, not only they get content and information and all that.
I remember sitting in a pitch where a prospect literally said to me in the meeting, these are my requirements, and I want a bit of AI in that, and it got to the point where it was literally and I think we're back there again, where now it's actually entered the mainstream consciousness with ChatGPT. That's not to say it's not what I would call a real trend. There is so much meaning and value in this technology, and it is going to be disruptive in so many ways. But I don't think the ways that people are discussing how it can be used right now, I'm not too sure. I think this is like the knee-jerk reflex to how we can use this. And I don't think the best use of ChatGPT or generative AI is content creation, because content creation isn't our biggest problem right now. We just need to take a step back and realize we're in the post-content age where content is cheap. It's available in abundance, right? Actually, the biggest problem we're facing right now is discovering relevant content with all of this content out there. And so actually there's a risk with to generative AI in general, because it's made it easier for people to create a lot of content, right? And so we're now adding to the abundance of content that exists, because it's now faster and cheaper to create more content with generative AI. So I think it's something to be conscious of. Like, I know there's a lot of vendors in the market rushing to add generative AI to how content's created. Great, but yeah, it's just making it easier for you to add to the problem of discovery. So I'm a bit dubious about that, whether that's the most effective way. That said, there are a few things I'm really excited about, right? For example, L&D really need to move more and more in the direction of being able to measure and demonstrate impact. And generative AI can play a huge part in making it easier for us to be able to tell that story. You know, right now, L&D are going to dashboards, running reports, sending these reports out to different stakeholders. But with generative AI, we're not that far away from having an interface where I can ask the question going, you know, how effective has this been, right? How effective has this campaign or experience been? And to get some actual meaningful insights, almost like a human analyst telling me back, you know, that is possible with generative AI. That I'm really excited about. You know, having almost the equivalent of a teaching assistant, like you may have seen at school. You get a teaching assistant who's there to support you on, you know, each one of us having our own teaching assistant to guide us through that learning experience while we're engaging with the content. And, you know, turning even asynchronous self-paced courses, you can now make synchronous by having an AI-powered assistant. So I think there's more use cases out there. Right now, what we're seeing is the easiest one to implement. You know, OpenAI have got a really good API. It's really easy to get the table stakes out there. But I think what's going to be more exciting is the next few use cases you get out of it. So yeah, in summary, I'm super excited about where generative AI is going. But I think we're still a little while off where we're going to see the real meaningful impact for L&D.
The bravest is anyone who has been working, and like I said, we work with software engineers who have up to 8 years of experience. Those people, the fact that they have 8 years of experience or 4 years or 5 years, however many years it is, in their local markets is a much stronger signal of talent than somebody having a job in the United States or Europe after graduating from university, because we're talking about a region where on average, it's 40% unemployment for college grads. And in places like Gaza, it's 70% unemployment. And in places like Gaza, for a woman computer scientist, it's 83% unemployment. So I think part of the challenge for companies in the West, and part of what we're solving at Monada, is not knowing what are those signals of quality when you're looking at a resume that's from a region that, you know, you don't know if it's good that they went to German University of Cairo. You don't know, what to look for really. Is 80% GPA a good thing or a bad thing, et cetera, right? And so I just want to say one of the first signals of quality is that somebody has even started to work or has worked many years successfully in a region like this. Sometimes we see our engineers get started in automation QA, so quality assurance kind of jobs. And in the United States, that might be, or in Europe, that might be seen as a signal that they weren't able to get a software engineering job immediately out of college. Here, it's just a reflection of the jobs that are available in their local market. And it's a great sign that they found a way to get started and then get promoted out of that into a software engineering role. Going back, though, to the kind of extra friction that women face. So in this region specifically, women are expected to go to college. There's a very high standard in this region around learning English, around just going to be very well educated. Women are not expected necessarily to work after college. And so to your point around women being brave, I think the part that's really brave is when women end up deciding to continue working or even look abroad for work, whether remotely or on site. That latter piece really to them feels like a moonshot. Like, why would somebody abroad want me to come work there? And not having a lot of role models who have relocated. Parents often would rather their daughters go abroad. Actually, my co-founder and a lot of women in our community have told me this story where when she stayed in the United States after her master's degree to work, her parents were so embarrassed that their daughter had to work. Like they didn't want people to think that their family was dependent on her salary. that they ended up telling the neighborhood for a while that she was staying in the United States to get a PhD, because that's very kind of in the mental model is, yes, people go and study, but no, women wouldn't need to go work. And so that's also a big part of Monata's role here, is to change the cultural paradigm locally. And we do that by building community and by creating role models and really sharing those stories out person to person, and in events and in the media and through content creation. We really help these women share their stories, because often they wouldn't share that. So that's the kind of extra friction that women face compared to men. There's also another friction that I think is across the world, which is around confidence. And even companies like Wise in the UK have seen a similar issue that we've faced at Monata, which is that women won't take a coding test, even though they're very qualified and they absolutely are ready to take the job interview and take a coding test as a part of the job interview. They just screen themselves up. They aren't confident enough to take it. And at Monata, we have a coding test similar to what employers have before we even let anybody into our training, because our training is just like a little finishing school to bridge the gap to the international job. So we're already expecting somebody to have the skills necessary for the job. And so we screen them just like an employer would screen them. But we realized pretty early on that women somehow weren't filling out the application. And so we ended up putting on a series of events and programming just around supporting women with taking the coding test, not because they don't have the skills for it, but because we needs to be made to feel safer. And Wise is a great example of that in the UK, where you may have heard of Wise Women Code. They're actually putting on a weekend of hackathons before women apply to join the company. It's optional, of course, but it's for women. A lot of women attend it. And as a part of the hackathon, they demystify the whole coding test part of the application, which I think is brilliant.
I have a bit of a difficulty with kind of the classification of high performance, because I think it came from an era where burnout was really possible, and it was about every single person kind of being made into a high performer and a top talent, and that doesn't really work in real life in long-term sustainable teams. You know, if you take any team, there is going to be one, if not maybe even 50% of them, that are going through some kind of challenge, be it personal or work-wise, that is affecting their performance. So if you look at team performance, you're going to be much more sustainable over time, because our teams collaborate and work together to manage the ebb and flow of energy and performance and well-being across the team. Is going to be a much more sustainable focus. So that's why we focus on team flow across teams, so that actually we are thinking about the fact that we, in any given moment, we are normally carrying at least one person in the team. And that is just very normal, and we should accept that and be transparent about it. That things in life, challenges happen all the time, and they don't happen outside of work. They happen to us now in our homes when we're, talking to people and being much more vulnerable and transparent and authentic in who we are. And that means that we have to allow for it. And allowing for it means that some people will work harder 1 month, and some people will cover other people 1 month. But that's what bonds us together and keeps those kind of respectful relationships and that meaningful human connection there, in knowing that your team's got you. And that's what a team, I feel like, should mean. Teams have become flimsy, and I worry about how many people have been flung together in new teams over the last couple of years, with all the turnover and people moving roles and industries and things and careers, that actually most people I know are in a new team, whether they've stayed in the same company or not, because people have moved so much. So, but what does that mean in terms of the time invested to actually support the team to be a supportive team that manages and can actually support that ebb and flow of energy and performance over time? Because if you just chase that high performance model in terms of individuals, you are just going to literally, move to burnout relatively quickly. It's not sustainable for the longer term, which I think most organisations really care about sustainability now.
What did you think? How are you shaping your strategy or creating space to upskill? Connect with us or any of our guests to continue the conversation.